and a great leader for South Carolina State Representative Samuel Rivers Jr., Ph.D.
Thank you, Mallory. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I thought I was going to get away from being the only black Republican in the state of South Carolina in the legislative branch. So since he started off like that, I have to just address that a little. At the beginning of my career in politics, I had a decision whether I was going to do what was conventional and get along with everyone else, or was I going to look at a person's actual qualifications. So our first time, one of the first judge races, and the one that's very dear to my heart, coming from a broken family, it was one of those family court judges, and we had two young ladies. Both of them studied law, but one was a little more advanced with family practices and adolescent teens. So we had this case here, and all the other legislators, they voted, all the black legislators, they voted for the African-American attorney, and here it was, it came down to me, and I voted the opposite way. And the reason why, and of course that was it was good to be Samuel Rivers Jr. that day, because literally I got cussed out, got my hands thrown at people, threw their hands up at me, and I got so many different emails, really bad emails. But at the end of the day, I waited until all the heat calmed down, and I went to every single legislator, black legislator, and I was determined that, look, you are doing the very same thing that you criticize others for doing. Now, it was my vote, I'm satisfied with it, and that ends it. So that's the way I started my legislative career. And of course, it's been a little tight, and there are times when we still faced judge races, and I told them coming out of the gate, now, if you come to me and you ask me to vote for someone because they're black alone, you're almost guaranteed that I'm going to go the opposite direction because you said that. And so now when they send people to me, they send them, and they said, well, this particular senator sent me, and he said, make sure I tell you about my qualifications. So they wanted to make sure you knew about my qualifications. Because I believe in this world and in South Carolina, we can't continue to play to the races and political different functions of how this person is black and that person is white, because if we do that, we're not making the progress that is needed in South Carolina. And a lot of times the people who do those things, they themselves are speaking from a place of hurt and yet prejudices. So I'm determined that that's the kind of legislator I do not want to be, and I'm not going to be that. So I'm not afraid to really make the tough decisions and stand by them, and then after that win the respect of both Republicans and Democrats, because I stand by my word. And that's important at the end of the day. Thank you. Thank you. So now, how are we going to fix education in South Carolina? You may say, well, all of my children, they are grown. I don't have any children in the public school system. But do you know 45% of South Carolina's budget goes towards education? 45%. Now, out of the 100 worst schools in the nation, guess what? South Carolina is home for 38. 38. Now, that is not using your tax dollars properly. Just like you will not invest in a failing job market, you should not invest in a failing school system. And it's going to be people like you. I need to take this off. It's going to be people like you who really make the decisions and put the pressure on the ones who needs it the most. Here in have an all-powerful legislative branch and a very, very powerful Senate. A governor who's limited in power. And so if you want to get anything done with education or anything, it's going to be through the House and the Senate. It's easy to pass a conservative agenda through the South Carolina House of Representatives. It's getting it through the Senate. Now, I have proposed several pieces of legislation, not to touch just one part of South Carolina, but to touch every part of South Carolinians. For those who decide to send their children to private school, parochial school, or homeschool, I've introduced legislation giving them a $5,000 tax credit. I'm not one who believes in overtaxing the rich to pay for things. I believe you should make as much money as you want and do what you want to do with your money. And I will stand by those principles. Thank you. Thank you. And so here's another bill that I introduced. It's called Statewide Students Learning and Performance. And literally what this bill does, it brings professionals like you who are in this room into the classroom. You take a school teacher who finishes K through 12, they go to college, and they go right back into the same school systems. They don't bring any administrative ability, so they can't really tell you about running a business. So it's important that South Carolinians know how to operate a business, not just counting money, but know the system of money, how money works. And when our students and our children understand how money works, then they'll make wiser decisions and choices in life. So this particular bill, what it does, it brings professional and the professional experience into the classroom to train them not just to go to college, but to give them what they need for a career. So that's one of the things that this particular bill does, and it replaces the exit exam in the 11th and the 12th grade with the work keys in the ACT to track what these children are learning. Yes. And so here's another bill that I have. It's called the Choice Scholarship. And what this Choice Scholarship Act does, it gives scholarships, vouchers to the lower middle class. It judges a person based, if they qualify based on their income. Then they could apply for a choice scholarship in a public schools. Because let's be, we're going to really be honest with you. There are people still in private schools that are really not ready, rather they're white or black, they're really not perfectly good legislation that it's passed through the House and they just sit on it. So we're working hard to make sure that this is the best place to own a business, raise a family, and educate your child. I see Michael Aquilina, he's with South Carolina for Access Opportunity, and what they do at that particular organization, we have a young man who's a part of the next generation who's going out and seeking scholarship sponsors to help sponsor children who cannot afford it. And so we go and we present them checks and all that, and he's doing such a great job out there. It's good to see you, Michael. So it's things like that that's going, and it's people like that that's going to make South Carolina a better place.
Tell us quickly about your race that you have coming up.
I do have a race, and it's in November. I was able to get out of the primary, so that means everyone's satisfied with me in the Republican Party for now. But in the Democratic, I do have a race, and I will love your help. One of the things, they're already painting me out as an extreme Tea Party ally to the governor, and they've got to get rid of me. I would definitely love to have your help. You have envelopes in your seat. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at samuelriversjr.com.
Samuel Rivers, Representative Samuel Rivers, what a delight to have you here.
The delight was mine.